QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022 Income and Expense by Month Graph. Get ready because we bookkeeping pros are moving up the hilltop with QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2022. Here we are in our free QuickBooks sample file, sample raw castle construction, going through the setup process with the view drop down, the open windows list on the left hand side, company drop down, home page in the middle, maximizing the home page to the gray area. Reports drop down, looking at the company and financial down onto the balance sheet standard report. We're then going to be changing the dates and customizing the font in the custom reports. Let's bring that end date out to 12/31/23. Fonts and the numbers to change in that font to 14 on the font. Okay, yes please, and okay. Same thing with the P and L as has been our custom. Company and financial profit and loss, changing that end date to 12/31/23. Customizing that report by going to the fonts and the numbers, changing that font to 14 and okay, yes please, and okay. So now we're going to be looking at a graph basically giving a breakout of the income and expenses on the income statement or profit and loss. So we'll take a look at that graph and think about the reports supporting it and how possibly we can construct the graph using Excel if we so choose. So we can go to the reports drop down up top to find this one. It's in the company and financials area. We're looking at the income and expense graph. You can also get there, however, which we will do now, by going to the report center and the report center, the reports and then the report center. So we're in the normal area, the top standard tab, the company and financial. Then we're just going to scroll on down until we see a graph, which is hopefully the one we're looking for here. Scrolling down, there's our graph, the income and expense graph. Let's run it, run that one. And so this one's a little bit more complicated because you got some different types of options down here. You got the income and expense that you could toggle back and forth from. You got the by account, by customer, by class options up top. Let's first change the date. We need the date range, which is going to be from 01/01/23 to 12/31/23, and run that report. So that range is going to be necessary to have this information. We got this information up top, and then we've got the pie chart giving basically either the income or the expenses. So in other words, the income and expenses are provided up top, and the income is in the green, the expenses in the kind of reddish red color here, and we can see the key up top here. This information you might be able to construct something like this by taking the information in essence from the income statement, exporting it from the income statement, and then creating your graph in that format. So for example, if you wanted this yearly information, you could go to your profit and loss report, and then instead of having a total, you can run this on a month by month basis. So month by month. And so, hold on a sec, I'm going to say 01/01/23. So January through December, month by month. And then you can pull, if you were to export this to Excel, you're really not looking for the detail, you're just looking for the totals for the bottom line items, income and expense line items, that you can then possibly use to construct a graph of that nature, although it might be a little bit more complex than the graphs we've looked at before. And then down below, we've got our pie chart here, the pie chart being broken out, either toggling back and forth between income and expenses. Let's start at the income. If we've got income by account, now we're looking at the income by account, which isn't that interesting, which it may not be for many companies because we might not have that many income accounts because we might only do one or two things on the income account side. This income number, if I wanted to look at that number, if I went back to the profit and loss here, and we were then to go back and say we want to let's go back to the totals, seeing the totals. We've got the income lines up top. I'm gonna toggle this back down. So we've got that 449,657. So I'm going to take that 449,657.14. And then you might have like other income, which is on the bottom. That's not part of the normal operations, which it looks like they have here in other income. If I close that one up too, other income, we've got plus the 375.96. And so if we go back on over to our report, we're looking at that 450,033.10 on this side. So we can also break this out by customer, so I can give my customer information. Now this one looks substantially different because we are taking into consideration now the cost of goods sold. So if I went back on over to the profit and loss, and we're looking at these items because it's a job cost system included, because that's including the customer information, that's where we get to the gross profit of that 269,591.81, and we can compare that then to over here. We're at the 269,765, so we could say minus the 269,765.96, and that gives us a 147 difference. And that difference, if I go on down here, was our income or close to our income line item here. Note that when you go to the customer item and you sort by customer, going back to the report, it is possible or more likely that you're not going to tie in exactly to what's on the income statement, because it's possible to enter something that's going to be going to an income statement account without assigning a customer to it. That's not the case when you try to compare the subsidiary ledger for the accounts receivable, because generally QuickBooks forces you to use a customer if you're going to be assigning something to accounts receivable. It's possible to assign something to an income account, or much more possible, without assigning a customer. When that happens, your subsidiary reports, your supporting reports won't tie out exactly. So in any case, we got a similar kind of breakout down here with the pie chart now by our customers that we have broken out. And then you can also do this by class. So if you have class tracking, we might do a whole nother section. We got courses on class tracking, which can be used for different ways or different uses. So you can break it out by class as well. Let's start it over. And then you could do the same process by checking off the expense side of things. So same information up top, but now you've got your expenses broken out by categories. You got your nice pie chart down here for the expenses broken out by category. This is another item that you could generate yourself, in essence, by taking a look at the income statement and basically exporting this to Excel and getting your major categories, which you could break out to more categories, or you might just use your subcategories. In other words, like collapse these items. There you got your nice expenses, and you can basically break out your expenses by category, creating a pie chart. In that way, if you wanted to do that fairly easily, I would think as well. We won't go through it, but you could check that out. And then you could see this by customer is not going to give you much information, because we're on the expenses side of things, which aren't having customers assigned to it. So, and then you can have the expenses by class, which again could be useful depending on how you're going to be using the class tracking. If at all, class tracking is a specialized thing that you would have to turn on that you might want to use in certain instances.